Hello everyone. Good evening. Can you hear me? I want to confirm you can hear me before we begin the session.
Good evening, I can hear you.
All right. Thank you very much. Welcome to class, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. Welcome to week 4 of the JIIPCC Mentorship and Internship Program under Patent Drafting. I want to say big congratulations to all the mentees that have been consistent with class and have stayed with us throughout all the sessions. We are really excited about your participation and also about your consistency towards your own personal development. So please, we want to encourage you. For those of us that are on the call, kindly do also reach out to your other commentees to make sure that we have others on the call. Please, you can share the meeting notification to your subgroup. Like I said, let your fellow mentees know that we have begun the session. Thank you once again. And I want to say a big welcome to our mentor, Mrs. Ojes. Thank you so much, Mark, for joining. We are happy to have you once again with us in another exciting session of patent drafting. And in today's class, we'll be talking about claim design and drafting. Thank you once again, Mark, for joining. We are happy that you have chosen to spare out of your time and energy to be here with us and to help a new generation of patent drafting professionals to begin to find their footing within the industry. Thank you so much, Ma. We really do appreciate your efforts. So just like we have always done, we will be following the same format of for our classes. We'll be hearing from our mentor first, and then the mentees, please get ready for your presentation. We'll be taking it after the mentor is done. So our mentor, please, Ma, over to you. Over to you, Mal. We would like to get your introduction into the topic for today. You're welcome.
Okay. Hi guys. So this will be today's session. It will be a bit lengthier one, so I'll try to cover up it within 1 hour. I'll try to share the screen actually, right? So today we are only concentrating on the claim part. So as I said in the previous sessions, the claims are the techno-legal part of your patent document. So they decide on how to say, they define the protection or the boundary of your patent application. So whatever you put within this section defines the boundary of the invention. So coming to the claim drafting. So okay, I'm unable to, yes. So the legally operative part, so the time of infringement or opposition, to practically implement this or enforcing your rights over this patent application. So everything, whatever you have written, whatever you have claimed in this section, they play the part. So whoever tries to implement a similar invention covering all the points which you mentioned in the claims, then you can go for infringement case against them. So here the infringement lies between your patent application and between the product which is actually copying your set of claims. So the product is not protected by any patent application. Rather, it is developed using your claim set without your permission. So it is between your patent application and the product which is unauthorized use from without your permission. So development of such products. So infringement lies between that. So as I told, techno-legal. So whatever you claim, only that part is legally protected. You might give 100 examples in your specification, but in claims, you will claim only those best version, either one or two best versions in the claims. So you're seeking legal protection only for this one or two parts, not for the entire 100 variations or examples which you're given in the specification. So again, the claims, as you can see, you can claim all the 100 examples. There is no issue. It just increases the length of the claims and costs also while filing and also while implementing during examination, everything, the costs increase automatically. So generally now, like in all jurisdiction, 10 is the maximum limit of the claims in which we have to cover up the whole invention. But in most cases, it's not possible. So we'll go for additional claims also by paying additional amount. And here, the main important thing is your claim should not claim anything which is already existing in the prior art. Okay, your claims should only claim those novel things, novel components of your invention. Actually, you can mention which are not novel also, but you have to clearly differentiate what are the novel and inventive aspects in the claims. So I'll show you how to differentiate that in the claims. And technical aspects and all the preferred embodiments. As I said, out of 100, 2 might be a best scenarios. So those should be covered up in the claims. So the part of the claim. So first comes the preamble, next the transitional phase, and third is the body part. That is the format of the claim. So there are different kinds of claims: apparatus device claim, method claim, and a composition claim. Composition, as I said, it is used for the pharmaceutical patents to define the drug composition. So examples: an apparatus for making, or a method for establishing communication, or a system to impose 3D images, a composition for treating so-and-so diabetes or diabetes type 2, whatever it is. So now coming to the transitional phase. So this is actually a key aspect in your patent part, that is the preamble, transitional, and the body. So this transitional phase plays the key role. So it defines what type of protection you're seeking. So there are two kinds of phrases: open-ended and close-ended phrase. So generally we go for open-ended, and close-ended we prefer that when we already know that it has only a novel aspect. There is no inventive kind of thing. And we are seeking only for a design patent. So in terms of design patents, we use this kind of close-ended, that is exclusively. Like we are like giving, this consists of this, that's it. There is no chance for it to include anything else apart from what we have claimed here. So that is what we are closing it off, the discussion here. But coming to the open-ended phrase, it's comprising, including, containing, characterized by. So this characterized by is a critical thing where you can differentiate the prior art and your novel aspects. So these are the different kinds of transitional phrases which we use of. And consisting of is kind of thing, you are limiting it. We are limiting the scope. That's it. Apart from the A, B, C, D, which we mentioned, after consisting of, like this, or you can see a pen, a highlighter, and apart from these components, it's not going to use anything else. But if we use this kind of comprising, including, containing, and everything, independent claims, we can add few more components which are not essential. So again, there are two aspects which you have to remember. There are essential components in your invention and non-essential components. But the combination of both will make your invention. So whatever essential components, put it in the first claim. The first claim is always an independent or a parent claim. Then whatever non-essential components you can include in the dependent, that is the child claims. So now coming, when we are for open-ended phrases, it allows such kind of inclusion of non-essential kind of things. So coming to the body of the claim, here you have to, there are different things, different elements, okay? And it should also differentiate what is the relationship between two components. So now you say A, B, C. So how A is related to B and C, that is connections between them. Are they connected to each other, or will they depend on each other? So all those things you have to give it. So it's not just naming it like, so you can see, I'll give you. So a pen, a highlighter, an illuminating component. But we still went ahead. A highlighter attached to one end of the pen. So we have clearly mentioned the placement of this component B. So it is at one end. So any object, it might be having multiple ends. So when we are taking a pen, there are only two ends. So at one end, we are fixating this highlighter there. An illuminating component attached to the center of the pen. So we are clearly mentioning the positioning of that highlighter also over the body surface of the pen. So this is what we have to, that's what mentioned, the different elements exist in relationship with each other. Now, So these are the examples. And I also gave like which are acceptable and not acceptable. So 4 legs and a top. So it's very common. It's very known. Holding items and apparatus for holding items, which has 4 legs and a top. What you can imagine? 4 legs and a top means it comes general simple table we can. So it is a rejectable thing because there is nothing new aspects which we are mentioning here. So, but coming to this particular thing, if you say apparatus for holding items, which is having at least one supporting leg, okay, and a top configured to support at least one leg. You see here. So here now we are giving multiple combinations. Generally, if we just imagine the table, okay, 3 legs, 4 legs, but 2 legs we won't but sometimes 5 legs or 4 legs in between, there might be something else. There might be possibilities, we don't know. Even with the 3 legs also in a triangle shape or in a circular shape or an elliptical shape, we can use 3 legs also. But again, there is something we have to also mention how these 3 legs are interconnected with each other, and also how these 3 legs are interconnected with the top. Those also needs to be included. Now coming to different types of claims, which I said, a product claim, method claim, and the composition claims. So as you said, this is the examples. I'm just providing some few examples, but you should always remember whatever type of claim, it should have a preamble. So the preamble is, if it is a product, mention it as a device for like its use or its application. If you don't want to mention, if you don't want to restrict, it has multiple applications. For example, drone. If you take a drone, it has several applications. It can be used in agriculture. It can be used for cleaning the high-rise buildings, or it can be used for security purpose, for surveillances. So it has multiple purposes. So there is no need to restrict yourself, right? A drone for agricultural purpose, a drone for security or surveillance. Don't mention it, because if there are multiple applications, it's really difficult for us to include everything into this, a single preamble. So preamble should be very limited. It should not be like a lengthier, like 2-3 lines. It should be a few words. Okay. Then coming to the transitional phase, as I said, it's better to go for open-ended phrases when you're talking about some technology-related patent. If it is not solely designed patent, if it is something which is novel and also inventive, then go with open-ended phrases as I mentioned in the previous slides. And then coming to the body mentioning all the components, the relationship between each components, their placements, how they support or how they are interdependent with each other, everything must follow through. And also, this is some of the examples. Like I'll share this slides for you. You can just try to come up with some of the claims here, and you can just mail to me. I can check it, like whether you are able to do it or not, and I can make some suggestions. Coming to the method types of claims is, here we have to give the steps, number of steps that method comprise. And again, it should follow flow. So step 1, step 2, step 3. There is no need to mention step 1, step 2, step 3. So this is automatically defines, like after supplying, the next step is this. Okay. So again, here also in some case scenarios, in some methods, there will be some critical parameters which we have to take care of, like temperature conditions, pressure conditions, or the most important aspect is time. So for how much time the step is going to happen, the particular sub-step. So for how much time this rotational motion is happening. So this is a general claim which we have given, but in practical sense, we have to include all these parameters also into the method claim. So this is another exercise. You can see they have given step 5, 0, 6, 7, 8, everything. So here, generally in EPO practice, or generally what we do is we give an even numbering for the steps also. So if you start with 500 for the whole method, we start the 502, 504, 506. So there is a step numbers. It's just A, B, C, D. So generally they give in this format when we are actually drafting a actual patent application. Now coming to the composition claims. So here the composition claims, you have to mention its proper chemical name and also its amount, weight by volume or volume by weight, clearly. So everything that must be mentioned. And again, as I said in the previous claims, there is no need to mention the exact amount. You can go for this range, 30 to 50 grams, 2 to 5 times, or the pH value varies from so and so. So better to give range values. Don't disclose the exact values in the claims. If you disclose the exact values in the first claim, that is, see, always the parent or independent claim starts with the article a. So this is the parent claim. So never disclose exact values in the parent claim. Make it a broader claim. The scope should have a broader scope for the first claim. So if you want to mention the exact values, you can do it in multiple dependent claims one by one. You can narrow it down. But in practical implementation, and also while considering any infringement analysis, the parent claim is mainly considered. And in some scenarios, after considering the parent claim, then we will consider the dependent claim. So if the product copies claim 1, done, it's infringed. So this is the composition claim I said. So in the method claim, we are going to include the parameters like temperature, pressure, and time conditions. And in composition, we are going to give weight by weight or weight by volume in the range values. And also here in method claim also, there is no need to mention exact time or exact temperature or exact pressure. That also you can mention in the range values. So these are the basic steps which you have to follow for your first independent claim, that is the parent claim. Now coming biotechnology also, it has a sequence listing, if you remember. So the sequence listing is a kind of thing where it shows a clear chemical structures. So how the molecules react with each other. So everything, there is a different format for disclosing this sequence listing. It is not like generally we cannot just simply draw it over the paper, but it is something different. So it shows proper interaction of the molecule levels. At molecule level, the interaction between each components is shown in the sequence listing. So that one, sequence ID number 2 means we have already provided that as a separate file. So we are just linking that we are claiming that particular sequence here. Software claims. This is another type of software claims, that is computer related inventions. So these are patentable until we show that either the system, that is the application whole and soul, or the application whole and soul means the operating or the application which runs on your system, along with it should be interacting with some input and output devices, and how these input devices are novel in extracting the data from the user, and how the output, which again you might be displaying on the graphical interface, how that is different. So all this connected together should be novel. And coming to the technical aspect, I mean the technical advancement, the application which you generally it is a software application. So we're not talking about the code, but here it's showing some sort of improvement in terms of its performance. Okay, it's providing the result within very less time, and it's providing more accurate results. So these are all the performance abilities. So if we can show that kind of technical advancement, means that is the only thing here. That things in terms of a practical implementation, like if we can show the examiner that if we provide this input, my system is working and it's providing this output, it is far better. And the time taken is also very less. And it also helps the users to reduce their work time, or it brings, generally softwares are used only to make our working conditions simpler and easier, right? So if we can prove all these things, then you can draft a method claim. And system claim is something which you have to show input source, as you can see, input source. Control unit means it's sometime processing, you're processing model only. And a storage device, that's must. You should also mention like where you're storing this data, on a cloud or in the system only, there's a separate database. And coming to a communication device. So communication device is kind of thing like it can be both input and output also. Input means like your keypad is your communication source. Output is the screen. So these are all communication devices. These are the software claims. Generally, we use this kind of terms. We avoid terms of kind of algorithm, especially algorithm term, we generally avoid it. Now coming to, we did Till now, what we have seen, the structure of the claim, the types of the claims, and for each type, what are the important parameters. Now coming to single element and multi-element. So single element claim is it has only one component. It can be either a composition or a product. Okay. And coming to the multi-element, it will be having more than one element. So how they have to be given a simple tricks like today I might be teaching you some English grammar also. So don't get angry with me. So if you could see, we are here for the parent claim, we are going with a or an. That's must. And when you're introducing the component for the first time, you have to proceed with article A only. Okay. So you could see. And for the method, you have to start with the active verb. So taking, contacting, detecting. In the previous slides also, we could see the method claim. Yes. So if you could see here, supplying, facilitating, collecting. So we have to start with the active verbs for the method claims. So the main important thing, as you can remember, I'm talking about the open-ended phrases. As I said, here, the characterized by. This is something a bit unique part when compared to other transition phases. Only this particular thing. Characterized by is something unique where we are actually using this to divide your parent in independent claim into two parts. So the first part is before characterized term, and the second part will be after characterized term. So the whatever you are writing before characterized by, it is included in the prior art and it is not novel or inventive. But whatever you are writing after characterized by is the novelty or the inventive aspect of your invention. So your invention begins after the characterized by. Again, you can ask why two parts. So whatever you are including before characterized part are the essential elements. Without that, again, your invention cannot work. So they are needed, but you are actually differentiating them as something which is already known. Generally, this practice is done in EPO and in our country. In India also, we generally go for these two-part claims. Initially, when we draft and file the patent application, we won't go for two-part. Until and unless it is very damn necessary. So when there is very, very close prior art, which is having multiple similarities, to just point out one or two pointers which are most unique, then we go for two-part claim. Else we don't go. Two-part claim, generally we amend the normal claim, which has the transition verbs of comprising or consisting, including everything. That one will convert it into characterized by at the time of examination if the controller insists. Okay. Generally, at the beginning only, we won't do when until and unless it is necessary. And in US, they don't practice with two-part claim. They make sure that all the components, whatever are essential and novel and inventive. That's it. Even though they are not novel, they insist they are novel. Now coming to the mean plus function claims. Here, means is a kind of component, plus function is it's a functionality. So if you could see a means for holding food particles and an inlet for water incorporated to the holding means. So here we are actually providing the functionality of the component. So previously in the system claims, what did I mention is you have to mention its relationship between the other components, its interdependency, and the arrangement. Okay, that is a general system claim. But in some scenarios, if there is no, if you want to specifically specify the function or for what purpose it is being used in your invention, because an inlet, if you see the inlet, it has a lot of things. Okay, purpose for letting in the air or water, whatever it is. Okay. If you want to specifically mention its function in your invention, then go for this mean plus functions. Now, as I said, proper antecedent basis, use of articles a and the comes into the play. So the whatever the first thing, an apparatus, this is your parent claim, that is independent claim. And if you see, it consists of an a only. And again, the pen, because we already introduced pen in the previous line. So here you can use the pen. So it indicates that, okay, we are talking about the something component which is already introduced before. Okay. And now coming to the dependent claim here, the apparatus, it goes from an apparatus, it changes to the apparatus recited in claim 1 or of claim 1 or as claimed in claim 1. It can be anything. So we are referring to the apparatus which is claimed in this first claim, wherein the illuminating, if you could see an illuminating, it changes to the illuminating because we already introduced it in the parent claim. So we have to indicate we are talking about that component only. Okay, is detachably attached to the pen. So in the first, we mentioned its position. That's it. We did not mention its feature, additional feature. If we mention that also, we are narrowing down the scope. Let's assume if you mention this illuminating component is detachably attached here only in the first thing. There might be a scenario where there is a pen, highlighter, and illuminating component also. Illuminating is some kind of LED which they, or it is just an LED only. And he says that you have mentioned in your parent claim that it can be detached. It can be removed and again placed back. But the component which I developed is the LED is fixated. It cannot be removed. So I am not infringing your claim. He might come. So you're narrowing down the scope. Now, if you mention in this way, all the pens which has the highlighter and the LED, they fall under the scope of this claim. And whoever wants to develop such kind of pen, they have to take permission from you. So it's just you're defining, enlarging the scope to restrict other people. Okay. Now the secondary thing, whether it is detached or attached is a secondary thing. These all components are present, so you infringe. That's it. And second thing is illuminating component. So this is an additional feature we are talking. Okay. And coming to why, you can ask why these dependent claims. Dependent claims are something where you want to define more specifics to just narrow down a scope a little bit better. Like giving more specific means you're providing a bit more clarity over the novelty and inventive aspect. That is the only purpose of the dependent claims. And see, it may be in red color. Actually, may is not the right word. It can be in red color. So we are not claiming over the red color. We are just mentioning one example that my pen is in red color. Okay. It doesn't mean that other colors are not claimed over, because in the first claim, we never mentioned about the claim color. Okay. These are some additional aspects which we are giving. That's it. So coming to the claim set. So independent claims, okay, it should have reflecting novelty and inventive features. Dependent claims, it can recite the structure, functional features by narrowing the scope of the element. Multiple dependent claims is a scenario where you can see this is the claim tree which we talk. Generally, you find this structure in eSpaceNet. So if you go to eSpaceNet and just click on one document, there you can see the claims aspect. Under claims, you'll be finding a claim tree. So if you click on that, you'll be having this kind of structure. So now here it independent. So if you could see, if you just draw a line here, you can see 1 and 8 are parent claims, that is independent claims. Now 2, 6, 7 are directly dependent on claim 1. Okay. Now 3 is dependent on 2 and indirectly dependent on 1. So 3 is dependent on 2 and again, and it automatically it's dependent on 1 because 2 is dependent on 1. So this is the structure. Okay. Why we are having this multiple independent claims? It's just to say narrowing down the scope furthermore, a little bit more. Like you can say the pencil as claimed in claim 2, because I mean the highlighter as claimed in claim 2. Now we should go to the present one here. So now if you could say this is the second claim. So my third claim would be like the apparatus 10 resided in claim 2, not claim 1, wherein the illuminating component is LED. It can be LED or not. It's none of our business. It can be a radium paint, whatever it is. It will just glow in the night time. It can be anything, multiple things. So there is something which are not allowed. If there is no need to put some non-possibilities into the claim, like wherein the light is not attached to the pencil. You claimed light as the part of the pencil. So it should be within the framework of the pencil. If you say it is not attached to the pencil, then that is a separate component. It is different from pencil. Then you cannot claim light as some component of the pencil. So this is not allowed. And coming to another one, patent claim design. Yeah. These are some what I'm explaining from the first slide. So exercise 4, a broader terms you can use it. So a monitor to retrieve data from the customers. Instead of monitor, let me put input module. It can be anything. Why only monitor? It can be camera. It can take the 4 images of it, or it can be a fingerprint scanner. It can be anything. Why are restricting it to a monitor only? Because we did mention to retrieve data. So data can be anything in future scenarios. We don't know. So it's better to give input module. That input module you can describe in the dependent claims. It can be camera, it can be scanner, it can be monitor itself, or it can be keyboard of the monitor, whatever it is, you can mention it in the dependent claims, but use a broader term as input module or input unit or input component, whatever word you want to use it. But make sure that unit, component, module all resemble or resonate the same meaning, which fits into your invention. A battery to move the weights. Let me say source, power source. Why battery? It can be rechargeable battery, na? Anything it can be. Or it can be, you can say something, I want to use solar panel. Why battery? Battery can be replaced, but it can be just use and throw object. Rechargeable, I can understand. Again, but again, for rechargeable battery, you need some additional power source where it can extract power to get recharged by itself. So that again, you need an additional source. Go with, so it can be anything. So go for power source, anything. We don't know what future possibilities might be. So better power source. A vessel to facilitate mixing process. You can say instead of vessel, so it's talking about a mixing process, right? So you can say any example, like, can you just tell me? Because I'm not able to think about any word which fits to this description right now. Container also, it is not a broader term. Okay, please think and tell me, na? Even I'm stuck with this. And this 2-part claim, if you could see, I forgot to explain this example which I mentioned here. So a pencil having an eraser. So we already know the pencil one end, there will be a small eraser for which is already known. Okay. So a pencil having an eraser, okay, wherein the improvement comprises of, or it can be wherein the pencil is characterized by a light attached. So now light is something new, which is not existing. Maybe right now it is existing, but at the time of this drafting, it is not existing. Okay. So now you can see having an eraser, we are differentiating. But in general claim, what we mention is a pencil comprising an eraser and a light. This would be a general set of claim. But if you want to differentiate a new aspect, then we have to change it into a 2-part. So before whatever I have highlighted in the red is the characterized part. That is like it can be characterized by or characterized in that or wherein the improvement comprises. So these 3 are the transitional phase which define 2-part claim. So you can see. So we are saying to the examiner that pencil having eraser is already known. So we are not claiming for that. We are actually claiming for that. Okay, our pencil also will have eraser. But we want to clearly differentiate the new aspect is the light. So it's a clear indication, I mean, a direct indication to the examiner. So for him also, while examining, he will check for the prior art, which consists of pencil plus eraser plus light. Or else his search would be pencil plus eraser or pencil plus light. So it will give number of results for him. So to avoid his time waste and our to bring some clarity, we are giving him a very clear indication that pencil plus eraser plus light. So if you can see the search terms, the analogy, so it will be pencil and light and eraser. That will be the search term for him also to re-verify your invention is novel or not. And yeah, so some tips for effective. So you could see the terms related to optional features such as preferably, for example, such as more particularly. So don't use all this. Huh? So there is no need for them to show our choice or preference in the claims. Put it in a broader claim. Even though you don't implement it, even though your pen mode be in the red color, it can be in any color because you did not claim the color in the first claim. So these are just general additional claims if you want to. Like it's a kind of, you can actually say that, as I said previously, you'll be claiming the best part or a best suitable one in your claims. So out of that 100 embodiments, those 100 embodiments will be having some common elements. Okay, all those common elements into the parent application. And whatever variations are there, in that variations also, you can select which are very suitable. That will fall into the dependent claims. Okay. Any doubt? So avoid this. So these are some examples which we generally avoid. Okay. And we use some sort of a writing. If you go with a writing implement, it can be at the pen also or a chalk also. We don't know. Just we'll use a very broader term, a tricky. Like it's kind of we're creating some tricky situation for the competitors also and for the examiners. I mean, basically for the competitors, we are making them very tough for them to crack our invention. That's it. And the main thing, like last time, Chini has clearly said in her presentation that the claim should be supported in the specification. So whatever you're claiming, it should have a back support in the specification. So whatever every word which you're using in the claim, that must be mentioned and explained clearly in the specification. That is what meant by supporting by the specification. And another thing is unity of invention, guys. So if you're talking about your invention is about pencil, please make sure that all your claims are related to pencil. Don't come up with a new claim, new parent claim talking about some eraser. Not required. Pencil is because it's a contrasting item. Eraser is something which you use to delete off whatever you have done using that pencil or pen, right? So it's a contrasting term. So the eraser, whatever you want to claim for something for the eraser, please go for a separate application. Okay. Your claims all should be related to only single product. Don't use two different products in a single invention. That's it. Yeah, I covered up within 40 minutes the records today. Any doubts in the claims? Please let me know. I'll quickly explain it. Guys, am I audible?
Yes, sure.
Okay, yeah. So any questions I'm ready to take up, or else if you want to go with the mentee's presentation, we'll go with that and later we can take up the questions. I'll stop sharing it.
All right,
And
thank you very much.
I will
So
email this.
I'm having a little issue with my network. It's live a bit. All
Okay.
right, thank you very much, Ma. Sorry. Like I said, I'm having a little bit issues with my net, so it's lagging a bit. But thank you so much, Mark, for your presentation. It was well detailed, and I believe, as much as I also did, that our mentees on the call were able to pick up several things from your presentation, and they thoroughly understand or understood it. And please do not forget that this session is being live streamed. You can always revisit it to get key details of the mentees discussion and presentation you might have missed out. So while we are going to be taking questions, lastly, please we want to quickly do out to take mentees presentation. So Favor, please over to you. We'll be taking your presentation in today's class, and then we would ask questions afterwards.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Please, can I have the PowerPoint presentation on the screen? I don't know if please, can
Okay,
everyone hear
just
me?
give me. Yes,
Yes,
we
yes,
can
you're
hear you.
audible.
Just give me.
Thank you. Please, can the presentation be displayed on the screen? Thank you.
Just, just give me a minute. I'll do that soon.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, so can you see the presentation? It's up now.
Yes, I can.
Okay, Favor, please go ahead.
Okay. So the topic, good evening, everyone. So the topic given to us this week is claim design and drafting. But before I go into the presentation, I would like to just give a brief introduction into what the topic entails. So patent claim drafting involves drafting the precise and detailed unique part of an invention, which defines the scope of legal protection. So patent claim drafting is a crucial aspect of intellectual property law. And as we all know, as the mentor has taught us in the past weeks, claims define the legal boundaries of an invention and determine the extent of protection granted to the inventor. So please, the next slide. Yeah. So before I go into the claim construction, the mentor has also some of the key criteria for claim application, obvious and um, industrial application, sorry. So for claim construction basically is the process of interpreting the meaning and scope of the claims of a patent. This happens during court litigation where there may be a problem involving patents and the court is mandated to define the scope and the extent of the patent. It is also important to note that in the Nigerian jurisdiction, the Federal High Court has the exclusive jurisdiction to adjudicate on matters involving claim construction. Claim construction can also be called claim interpretation. Now, when it comes to claims construction, there are two theoretical approaches to claim construction. We have the text-based and the author-based. So the text-based is the primary theoretical approach to claim construction. Why I say so is because the court is mandated to define the patent based on the words that are in the document. And then for the author theoretical approach, what this basically means is that the court can draw inference from other surrounding factors to properly define the scope of these patents. Sorry, next slide. I just thought to throw that in. So next slide. Thank you. So prior art analysis. Prior art analysis is the systematic search and evaluation of existing patents, publication, and public knowledge to determine the novelty and non-obviousness of an invention. This is just basically to search to see if there are existing patents that are similar to the one that you want to apply for. Next slide, please. So the parts of the claim. We have three parts of the claim. We have the preamble, the transitional phrase rather, and body of the claim. Oh, sorry, I want to say something in the prior art analysis. There are things that do not constitute prior art analysis. Number one, we have where the publication does not disclose official detailed information. Number two, when a non-provisional patent application has been abandoned and was not converted into provisional patent application within 18 months from filing the claim, a company's trade secret is not part of the prior act because it tries to keep secret. Please, can you? I'm so sorry. You called interpretation. Can you hear me? Hello, please. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, sorry.
Yes, you're audible.
Sorry, I had some issue with my network. That's why. So I will reshare back.
Sorry,
my screen.
contribution. All right. Thank you so much, sir.
All right, can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can. I mean, part of a claim.
So which page were you on? Sorry.
Part of a claim here.
Okay.
The parts of the claim. So there are three parts of the claim. We have the preamble, we have the transitional phrase, and we have the body of the claim. So the preamble, it basically introduces the category of the invention protected by the claim. It gives insights as to the intended purpose of the invention. An example, an invention, a pot rather, for cooking beans faster, can be written down as an apparatus for cooking beans. We have the transitional phrase. Is the next slide. Okay, the transitional phrase. We have it's divided into two. We have the open-ended phrase and the closed phrase. The open-ended phrase comprising it includes including, containing, characterized by. So this open is basically it does not exclude any additional objective elements. And then for the closed phrase consisting of it limits the scope of the claim, nothing more than typically recited elements. And we have the body. The body recites and interrelates all of them. Is the next slide. Yes. So we see an example of the body in the presentation, but for the sake of I'm so sorry for that. But if we look at it, we see an example that was drafted by the mentees on the body of the claim. Is the next slide. So best practice in drafting claims, we have the claim, we have proper antecedents, we have reference numerals and expressions, in parentheses. So questions for the mentor. Firstly, how does claim construction questions? And for this, how to resolve conflict between the plain meaning of claim language and the description in the specific. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Favor, for your presentation. We'll be heading back to our mentors for her comments, and maybe she can help us run through the questions that we asked.
Yes. So the presentation, it covered all the important aspects, as I said. So it's actually good. Another thing is you have to, whatever I'm saying, the antecedent basis and the more thing which we covered during our explanation, like what are the essential aspects which you have to mention in the system, method, or the claims that you have to keep in mind. And coming to your first question, you asked me right now, a moment, I'm just waiting, opening your presentation. Yes. So you're saying how courts decide. The first question. How claim construction influence patent infringement decision. So as I said, in your first claim, the main important claim, that is the first deciding factor to understand how much that product has infringed your invention. So as I said, the infringement case is between your patent application, which is granted. Again, guys, which is not granted application, which is still pending. You cannot go for infringement, but you can just get a kind of an order for them to stop working on that invention. Like some injunctions can happen over that competitor, where the court will order them to stop all the activities. Okay, but there you cannot gain any monetary benefits in like damages which you have incurred because of that development of the product without your permission. So this infringement only is applied, or you can contest for infringement when your application is granted, the first thing. Second thing is, it's between your application and the product which is already developed and in the market, which resembles or which recites everything which you have claimed. Okay. So the first thing we cover the claims, the first part of the claim that itself it decides the main important deciding factor to understand how much that product has infringed your claims. Okay. Again, you can, there is some scenarios where your claim has A to B, I mean A, B, C, D, 4 components. Okay. That particular person also has A, B, C, D, all 4 components. But in your claims, if you have not mentioned its placements or where exactly how this A, B, C, D are interacting with each other, kind of thing. Okay. Then the court will go for the dependent claims to understand what is the relationship between them, what are the more specifics, because the dependent claims always goes for the specifics. So just by seeing that A, B, C, D, oh, it's there A, B, C, D, but maybe in the further claims you might have went in more details. So next part comes to the secondary screening, goes for the dependent claims. So whatever it is, you if you want to keep very broad, then just mention the components. But in some scenarios, if you want to specifically at least mention its arrangement, which is unique, because in some scenarios, it may not be unique, the placement, but if you feel that the placement or the interaction between them is unique, mention it in the first claim, because the first claim, it should give all the noble and inventive aspects. So now, how courts, so this is way, So the claims, this is how the claims decide. The first main dependent claim, and if you want to go with more specifics, then the second screening begins with the dependent claims. This is between your patent granted claims and the product, the original 3D product, or the product which can be used, working example or working model which is existing in the market. Now, how do courts resolve? Next question. Conflicts between the plain meaning of claim language and the description in the specification. There might be scenario, as I said now. So you have to always maintain the uniformity between the keywords which you're using in the claims and the specification. Okay. In some scenarios, you might want to refer that keyword with other word. Then do mention that in the specification and also add another dependent claim to just rule out that confusion. Sometimes we won't add the dependent claim and that might create a confusion to the controller, but at least that specification should be mentioned. That term also indicates this in your specification. So as I said, the specification can be 100 pages, guys, but your claims might be 2 or 3 pages. So in the 2-3 pages, how much you're covering out of that 100 pages? So you're only covering the novel and inventive aspects and the essential and non-essential features also. Essential in the independent, non-essential in the dependent claims. Now, how do it reflects? There is only a chance that there is a chance to amend the claims. Until and unless you have supported in the specification. If there is nothing in the specification, you cannot add that. If it is already present in the specification and you want to clear that confusion in the claims, then you can bring that thing from the specification into the claims. But nothing else new should fall into during the time of amendments. This is generally a case with every country. It won't allow anything new. Once it is filed, done deal. You cannot add anything new or additional features. So this is how the courts resolve generally. Conflicts between the claim language and the specification. So you have to maintain uniformity between the keywords. And second thing, you have to make sure that the best examples are claimed, are protected under the claims. And if you want to refer to some keywords in a different language, do mention that in the specification at least. Later cases, if the controller insists that please include that in the claims, then it'll be easier for you to pick from the specification and add it in the claims. So this is how it resolves. Anything else, guys?
So, please, do we have any more questions for our mentor? Do we have any more questions for her? Okay. I guess we don't have any more questions now. Thank you so much, Ma, for helping us run through that questions or through the questions.
Yeah, actually, in the chat box, guys, in the chat box, if you're able to download that PDF, please try to download that now. I'll try to email that also to the JIIPCC email also, but it's very lengthier one. It won't fit into the email. So that's why I have just dropped up in the chat box. Try to download that PDF. So that is actually a new latest version of the proper guidelines of the patent drafting, which is edited or authored by the WIPO people. So it gives very comprehensive details of how your entire patent application, specifically how the claims and including how the drawings must be presented, everything is in one place with multiple examples. So you can go through that. So it's very lengthy, it's more than 150 pages, but it actually helps you people to at least start beginning your drafting exercises. Okay.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, Ma. We sincerely really do appreciate. So before we go, just before we go, sorry, my network is lagging, so my voice is coming out a bit late. But just before we go, let's quickly take pictures and let's call it a day. Mentees down the call. Let's quickly take pictures. Let's call it and let's call it a day. Okay, thank you, Chenny. All right, Favor. Thank you. All right, we are done. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much, Ma. Please, for the mentees, do well to always try as much as possible to reach out to our mentor. She has given us an open arm to reach out to her with questions and also with any inquiry. You can take out time and try your hands on some of the draftings, right? And you can reach out to her if you want any form of correction on your drafting assignment. So please, let's try as much as possible to engage so that we can eventually become better in this practice. Thank you so much, Mark, for your time once again in today's session. We really, really do appreciate it. For the mentees, do not forget to fill in your attendance and to share what you have learned in today's session. Goodbye, everyone, and enjoy the rest of
Thank
your evening.
you. Have a good day, guys. Bye.